You know what I think about life in my life? There's an old saying that I really don't say a lot, really. Something that is kind of like my train of thought. Is that the biggest sin in the world is mediocrity. And I've never really dined on mediocrity. It's never been my life, mediocrity. And when it was, I don't know, kind of did something about it. As to my show, there's many people, it's a very mediocre show because don't have a lot of subs and viewers, but I don't think it was designed really for the masses. When I really give this some thought, and I have, then many times, I'll ask myself, well, why do you go on with this? And something, that's a great question that I pose to myself. Why do I go on? Not making money. There's a lot of adversity. Maybe I like to challenge that adversity. The only thing I can think of. I kind of, in a strange way, I'm kind of charmed by the adversity because I think it's my way of testing my skills. My skills of how to deal with people. Now, my most vulnerable moments, I'll get bombarded with people who have something to say about, well, maybe something I said on my show. Or maybe they're all waiting for my reaction of something that they said. Complete boredom. I need something beyond that. I want a reaction. So somebody says something to me or about me. I think to myself, okay, interesting where you came up with that. I'll say, well, I'm a great storyteller. I could make up all kinds of stories. I'm very good at that, actually. I'm also a poet and I don't know it, but I'm kind of full of surprises, even to myself sometimes. But sometimes I think there's a part of me that thrives on adversity because I think it's a way of challenging myself and kind of see how I react to adversity. Do I let people step all over me? Well, as far as I could see, I don't think that's ever been the case. Do I enjoy watching people go out of their way to express their love or hate for me? I love it because it makes me feel alive. I've arrived. Alas, I have arrived. Well, maybe not particularly in a way I'd like to arrive on a YouTube channel, but it has to have been something driving me on this show for as long as I have. Not exactly having 100,000 viewers or subscribers. Not exactly making any money. So, the age-old question is, what drives me to continue on here? Well, I guess I could answer that question, and I could also question myself, and many times I have. It could go back to the fact that I like a good challenge. I like a good meal, I like a good love session, and I like a good challenge. Unfortunately for me, well, the kind of challenges I was hoping for on YouTube didn't turn out. Well, all these bleak, low-grade references to me being a criminal or a child predator or, I don't know, that nobody likes me. Well, when I ponder thoughts on that, I say to myself, okay, at least they're expressing themselves. It may not be true information, but I got a reaction out of them. That's what makes me feel alive. Get a reaction from people. And boy, do I get reactions. This has been going on for about 7.5 years. Now, as I said earlier in this broadcast, I like a good challenge. And I met one. And unfortunately for the individual, he lost that challenge. Well, I didn't force him to say certain things about me. I didn't force him to threaten me. I didn't force him to call me a child predator. No, none of the above. However, he felt it was more important to get viewers and subs on his channel and beg for money. Didn't really think about the consequences because, you see, when you get too cocky in life, well, you're not prepared for the consequences. As it happened with this individual, and probably as soon to happen with others. But yeah, I guess it's that challenge that I like. No, I've never felt defeated on YouTube, ever. I've always been one step ahead. I mean, here I am, enjoying a, practically brand new purchased house, 1.5 years. Got a great mate. I'm eating. I'm certainly making money to survive. My health so far is holding out, other than, basic ailments you get when you get a little bit older. And your bones ain't what they used to be, and you're not as athletic as you used to be. But, I expected that. Did I expect a lot of adversity on YouTube when I first came on? To be honest with you, no. Just an innocent New Yorker who, during his travels in the United States, wound up in several places. Just living and learning, greener pastures, and what comes next. I never knew what was going to come next. But that's about the challenge in my life that I really like. I like the challenge. There's got to be some kind of challenge in life. Now, please don't get me wrong. I don't think that I really like negative challenges, really, per se. But when something like that comes out, still is a challenge. And I have to use all my wits, all my energy, and experience, and even a little bit of intellect to kind of wind myself through this road and decide, how am I going to deal with this? And so far, I must say, I've dealt with it pretty well. I mean, as far as the Philippines vlogging genre, I'd have to be somewhere on the top list of 10, 12, 15, 20 people, I'm sure, that have been under attack viciously. Where am I? Where are a lot of these people today? They're gone. Just gave up. Threw in their hat. I couldn't take this anymore, they're thinking. Maybe if I disappear, it'll go away. Maybe, but you stand defeated. I guess I never really understood the concept of defeat other than my feet. The ones I stand on. I never took defeat as a way of me giving into something. I remember I was about 13, 14 years old, and I never studied martial arts for a long time at all. Parents really couldn't afford all the lessons. But I recall back when, we had to spar with the other students of the sensei. And I had my opportunity to meet up one time with a guy who was an actual brown belt. Big guy. Little me, 14 years old? And the instructor, the sensei, would basically, you were taught the katas and all that stuff. And you had to use whatever you were taught in that short period of time to learn how to be on the defense and the offense. Truthfully, never thought I had it in me. Okay, first little dojo. Brown belt, me a little yellow belt, fucker. White and yellow in this particular martial art practice. So here you are. You got this guy, twice my age, I'm sure. Big guy, brown belt. One step away in this particular martial arts from a black belt. And there goes the cicader in the background. We have a lot of them here. Maybe he has something to say that's more intelligent than what I hear on YouTube. If I could only interpret what that's all about. Well, the opportunity came where he got to throw his punches and kicks at me, and he was doing a damn good job of it. I'm saying to myself, what the fuck am I doing? Frampton comes alive. Well, not Frampton this time, but Frank. So it was my turn. I had to be on the offense, and lo and behold, whatever I had learned at the time came into action. I felt like a superhero. There I was with a roundhouse kick. I was blocking, throwing punches, and I was hitting my target. And I'm thinking, wow, I could do this. I could really do this. Sensei, at the end of the session, gives me a piece of paper. And what it really was, I had to sign it. It was, you want to attend a competition. And I'm thinking, reading on there, not responsible for injury or death. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I just signed up to learn a little martial arts here. You mean I could get hurt? Or die? If they hit me the wrong way? I said, I'm too young for this. I'm not ready for this yet. I'm not ready for the prime time, okay? I'm not into the academies. I'm in the junior league at this point. I don't want to get hurt or killed. I learned that at a young age. However, as life went on, I've had challenges in my life, and a few things have happened that I could have got hurt or killed. But, how I went about it, I guess is the main point of the story. I've always been able to accept the challenge no matter what it was. Oh, I always gave this story about a guy I worked with in a place called Corvette, which stands for Korean Veterans. There was a chain store in New York, in Pelham, New York, and I worked on the floor in the music department of this department store. And I had this guy named John Carr, C-A-R-R. He wasn't Italian. I'm not sure he was. He might have been Jewish, but I guess, probably more Irish. I don't really recall. although it really doesn't matter for this story. So this was a test for me, and boy, how this panned out surprised the shit out of me. Now, by nature, I'm not a violent person, and I don't advocate violence, and I still don't. But John, which was his real name, John Carr, no related to anybody else we know in here with the name of Carr, okay? And not a made-up or fictitious name, it's a real name. He was kind of a skinny, lanky little guy who professed that he liked to go to, Times Square at the time in New York. It was a real, shit place with porn shops and everything else, massage parlors and everything else down there. And John used to tell me about, he'd get a pack of smokes. I don't know why he needed a pack of smokes and whatever. And he'd go down to one of these massage places and he would get what they call around the world. You should come down sometime. I said, why do I need to do that? John was kind of a low-class guy, and I guess he could have been good friends with Barry if at the time they'd ever meet. But, by now it'd be a big age difference. But, all right, I didn't give in to John Carr's little personal, shall I say, I don't know, deficiencies or perversion or whatever. I was kind of a shy kid. I'd never got into that kind of shit. Even though I went to college and I spent a lot of time near Times Square on my breaks, I had many opportunities to go to places like this to pass the time when I had 3 hours in between classes, but I never gave in to really do that. Well, anyway, to bring the story more up to date, John decided to be a real asshole. I don't know why. Maybe I invite assholes. I really don't know. John kept on sweeping up the floor. It was at the end of the night. And John kept on sweeping the refuse from the floor on the retail area we worked. We sold records, musical records. And kept on sweeping it on my toes. I said, what are you doing? I said, stop that. He thought it was funny, but, after the first time, or the second time, he did it again. Now I was becoming kind of pissed off. I told him again, kindly, as much as I could, stop it. I mean, what's the purpose? He's just pissing me off. All right, so John does it a third time. Okay, that was it. I don't know what got into me. This instinctual, primal thing that happened. But I grabbed John by his neck, and his eyeballs were practically bulging out. The store manager for the record department came over and broke us up. I said, hey, I told him to stop. He didn't stop. Okay, broke it up. We were about to go home, so we go out in the parking lot. It's nighttime. And John decides, well, you're not going to get the best of me. So John comes up to me and wants to continue what, started on the floor in the retail record department of Corvettes. Well, that was the biggest mistake he made because he didn't like the results. Of course, I had him in a headlock. My knees were, banging his face left and right. He didn't have a chance to even punch me. I just went wild like a fucking ape. Again, the manager comes to the rescue and broke us up, and that was it. And I had decided at that point, I can't stay working at this place because there's too much tension. It's going to happen again, and I'm going to wind up getting fired. I don't know about him, whether he stayed or not. And at that point, I didn't really care. I was just explaining to my parents that there was just some friction going on at work. And they thought, well, you gave up. Why can't you have stuck with this job? Well, I didn't want to go into histrionics with my parents and explain everything that happened. I didn't want to dwell on it. Okay, so there went that job. But there's many times in my life that I really surprised myself. There's some things I'll never even talk about. But I can say that I'm a passionate person. that I very deeply believe whatever it is that I believe in, my own personal thoughts, my own personal values, and I adhere to these things, and to this day I still do. And to this day, I kind of like adversity as a challenge only. But when this adversity gets a little bit too far, that's when I I'm trying to find the right words, and it's very hard. Let's just say that's when I take that challenge. And it's kind of like a rush for me, like an adrenaline rush. I say to myself, he said what? How many times did he say it? Which made a big difference to me. Look, my skin isn't that thin. I've taken words from people before, it never bothered me at all. One time, twice, all right. Any more than that is any continuation. Then it became kind of an interesting situation for me. I would think that, okay, well, I gave you a chance. One time, warned you. Second time, warned you. But then they continued to do what they were doing. And it didn't usually, historically anybody in my life, it didn't turn out very well for them. Not well at all. Now, what was my feelings about this? If I got into battle with somebody and I won, well, I wasn't exactly proud of myself, because I'm not really, I just don't believe in violence. And I stay away from that kind of physicality, just as far as I can. Even looking like a coward if I have to. Not to hurt somebody, or get hurt myself for that fact. However, when push comes to shove, that becomes a whole different chapter in the book of Frank. Pushing and then shoving, you get a reaction from me, absolutely. And I get that adrenaline surge. It's like a fucking high, like a sugar high or something. I wouldn't know any other highs because I'm really not a drug addict for any street drugs. But a high is still a high no matter where it comes from. Ask those cicadas in the background here. I don't know what they're on, but they got energy to rub their ribs together to make this noise for hours and hours and hours. Where did he get that drive? Where did he get that determination? Pretty amazing. Nature. The nature of humans. And I became very fascinated with that. And for the past 7.5 years, and who's counting, it might be more than that. It's been a good study of human nature since I've been on YouTube. How people react to somebody I say, and the art of baiting people when necessary, to get the reaction that I want. Yeah. Oh, but please, honesty is important with me. I have been baited before, but you see, I've also learned from that experience too. So I became a pro at getting a reaction from people, and I did it very well. And when the person was important enough to me to take more action on, and I figured, well, how do I put this guy in a dark place where he might deserve? How do I do that? Well, I let them be themselves. That's what I do. And I play up on it. And if they react to something I say on YouTube, well, I catch their reaction and I record it. That's been my success on YouTube, and it's not by subs and viewers. It's been my capabilities and how I deal with people on here. Now, a lot of people are jealous and envious of other YouTubers. And there's a lot of that goes around. And I know there's a lot that are envious and jealousy of me. Some of them live their lives vicariously through my show and to others. People want to know everything I do when I go out, see my family, see my girlfriend. If something bad happens to me, or if I make a purchase, or if they go into my history and say, oh, he had bankruptcies, or whatever it might be, or do a Google search on my house, or, I look at this kind of very perplexed, and I say, even at my worst moments, when I've had a lot of time on my hands, I've never had that much time on my hands that I spend that much time researching somebody. And I research, please don't get me wrong. That's how I get my information. But I've never, and I can honestly tell you on this broadcast, that I've never spent that extraordinary amount of time on anyone. And I do mean even Barry. I would hope that I would never have that much time on my hands where I would have to totally avoid someone that I love very much, my girlfriend, her family, and my own personal interests. Now, I can devote some time toward a good cause that's going to get the result that I want, and I've been very successful on that. But I refuse to spend as much time as these so-called accomplished people who say they have money, and they say they have a great relationship, have a great house, and they got more intellect than I do, and I'm just a piece of shit. And there's nothing wrong about their lives. That you got a lot of time on your hands, pal, for somebody supposedly successful, for somebody enjoying their life in Thailand, or enjoying their life in Philippines. Why are you spending that much time being concerned about me, how much money I made, anything in my past, exploring my tenants and my relationship, the real relationship with my tenants, not the made-up shit, and everything else that goes on in my life? What makes them so interested in me that they practically make a career out of following me? Now, I tell you what, if I made even 100 pesos on every insult that's ever been thrown at me, I'd have quite a bank account. It's too bad that they can't put their energy into something positive. Maybe they can make more money. But I'm not really worth anybody's time. And you know what? I'll be the first to say that. I'm not worth anybody's time to spend that much time on their own and all the oxygen they spend on me. I'm just simply little me, unassuming, who's just trying to do a YouTube show. That's how I see myself. Others, well, they see it different ways. But I've never, and I want to adhere by that little adage, if you want to call it that. The worst sins in the world are mediocrity. I never want to be mediocre. I want to stand out on my social media. Here I am, baby. Like me or not, I'm going to say what's on my mind. You can push me a little bit. It gives me strength. But if you push me too much, well, you'll have to fill in the blanks on that one. And I think you know what I'm going to say. But do I enjoy adversity? There's a yes and no to that. Sometimes it becomes too old, and they, unfortunately, cannot deliver, any factual material on there that's very adverse to me, without just spreading hearsay and hope that I'm going to shed a tear on what somebody says about me. I'm not that thin-skinned, trust me. I'm not that thin-skinned at all. I examine where this information comes from, and I say to myself, oh, okay, well, that explains that, and I feel better. Now, when they cross that line, I have a decision to make. Where do I go with this? Well, obviously, you know where I went with somebody. Actually, there's a few people. One on Facebook that's facing some charges as we speak right now. I didn't let that one get away. Because, you see, at that point, when this guy put something on Facebook, I was already being attacked by people on YouTube. Long time. And I said to myself, no more of this. No more of this. Don't, look, you're going to ruin my reputation. You want to also ruin my girlfriend's reputation? I said, no, it stops here. It stops here. And, yep, by golly, I went to a cybercrime office, an actual cybercrime, just RACU Unit 7. And I got this puppy in motion. And the guy, tried to run away, but he got himself arrested by the gentleman from the RACU unit, who hunted him down. And believe it or not, it was Marlborough, of all places. We're not talking about Barry either. It was Marlborough. He fled to Marlborough, and this guy found him. I don't know how he did that, because I didn't even know he was in Marlborough. Honestly, I did not know. I really didn't know. But the guy tracked him down, and he got his ass arrested. Now, in this case, there's no defense at all. So what he did, and what he posted, he did. And Facebook, it's like any social media. The same rules apply to YouTube, and, what he did was wrong. I never even met the guy, to be honest with you, and he never met me. But why did he put certain videos on there that somebody from YouTube sent to him. But I took care of business. And because of COVID, this went on for several years now. And I went to my first part of the trial, where information seeking to the judge, spoke my piece. Now, I'm not sure what happens on the next step, which is really not too far in the future, actually. It's pretty much coming up. And I'm not sure what goes on from there. Maybe his lawyer will have something to say and present their defense evidence and whatnot. And I really don't know what defense they have, because there really isn't. You either did that or you didn't do it. I mean, there's no in-betweens. You're going to try to play the role. Well, I was a hero. If this guy's a sexual predator or pervert in the community, I'm going to let the community know that. Where did he get this? He got it from YouTube. Right? You see how this spins around 360? And what happens when somebody starts some bullshit? Then it gets really ugly. And then you have decisions to make. Where do you want to go with this? Leave it alone? Do you want to tackle it head on? Well, that's kind of what happened. Well, now he faces the possibility of doing several years in jail. A lot of fines, perhaps, on top of it. They tried to do a settlement with me, and I said, no, that ain't going to work. Let's take it to court. And we did. And we started. That's who I am. Now, good or bad, you know, you make your own evaluation of me. And quite frankly, I don't give a shit. But I will say that I am a person who's a very honorable person, who's very family-oriented. I don't drink. I don't hang around in bars. I think the family unit is important, and when you attack the family unit, well, that's where Frampton comes alive. Call me Frankie Frampton if you must. But I came alive, and I said no more. And anybody since who has stepped on my toes in such a horrible way when I said stop it, but they continue to mar my character, is going to face my wrath. Oh, your wrath, Frankie. I'm so scared. Well, my friends, or foes, whoever you may be, I can think of somebody right now that's pretty pissed off, who's got 3 months of incarceration, maybe not in the proper place he should be for his crimes, but he is paying the price. Is he or is he not? You answer that question yourself, and you make a determination on whether this particular individual, and we have somebody, hello, hold on, but which leaves me where I am today. Got a very popular YouTube show, but I'm kind of waning to the curbside on the numbers and viewers, which doesn't really make sense to me because there's not many people out there that don't know who I am. And I don't know, maybe it's better that way. I don't know, maybe I'm the Anthony Bourdain of YouTube in the sense that, you know, Mr. Bourdain never really traveled in his life until he became popular on his shows, and then he started to travel as part of the requisites, whatever, of doing that show. And he was also a person like myself that questioned life. Except the fact I am not suicidal, as he either was or who knows. He did admit that he was into cocaine, younger, and he was quite a cynical person, actually, Mr. Anthony Bourdain. Very creative, turned out to be a pretty good writer. And when he got out there in the world and started seeing different places, he said, hey, I actually really like this. So he got out there on the media. And he never wanted to have anything to do with TV. Same as me, I never wanted anything to do with social media. What the hell do I need to put a YouTube channel on? Are you kidding me? Well, you know, kind of dipped my feet in the water, you know. Well, let me try it out. And, well, here I am 7.5 years later with some of the greatest challenges I've had in my life. And in a really bizarre, freaky way, I'm kind of liking it. Because, as I said, I just like challenges, and I'm not a person that likes to lose. I never liked losing anything, whether it was a relationship, whether, I don't really care what it was. To me, it just represents just another challenge. No, I'm not sulking. I'm not, sitting there with tears coming out of my eyes and saying, I wish they'd stop, I wish they'd stop. No, that's not who I am at all. I'm saying, come on, bring it on. Bring it on, because I got more. And unless you want me to research you and embarrass the shit out of you and, put you in a worse position if you don't stop, you could wind up like someone we know. I mean, what's the purpose of coming to the Philippines? You're going to wind up in jail? I mean, really? I somehow don't think that it's everybody's goal to do that. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just kidding myself, but I really don't think that it's anybody's goal. But then, something that really astonishes me, they continue to do what they do. As if, well, they made of kryptonite or whatever, or Kevlar, actually, that everything's just going to bounce off them. That nothing is going to happen. And they find out later that, well, that's not really the case. And we know somebody right now. There's a lot of people that have went through that, not just this particular guy. I got another guy on Facebook that wished that he never posted anything about me at all on this Facebook page. He's wishing. It cost him already money for lawyer. I don't know how much he spent. He had to pay bail. He's not a happy camper. I don't blame him for not being a happy camper. But who put him in that position? Did I? Well, yes and no. He pulled some shit on me by putting something on Facebook. He got in trouble for it. So who committed the crime, me or him? Not me. But now he has to pay for it, just like somebody else is paying for it. And it just goes on and on and on. Here, take a ticket, folks. Get in line. Who's next? Who's next? Who can I challenge? Well, I've already got some devotees out there that want to follow the same path of destruction. And I'm like, really? Okay. Well, I kind of warned you, and, you got too cocky, you got too arrogant, and, you could have just left your life alone in the Philippines and said, I'm just going on my life. I'm going to screw all the women I want. I'm going to abuse all the women I want and, make a mockery out of us foreigners out here who came out here to live a good life and not meet these challenges. Now, the only challenge in life I ever wanted out here was to make sure I have survival, which I've got. How to survive in a new country, to adjust, to acclimate to a whole different culture. Follow me? That's all I wanted or expected. But then I decided to join social media. I remember the days I used to kick my feet up on the desk and I'd even listen to Enrique, for God's sakes. I listened to Postcards from Cebu, who were my favorite bloggers at that time. And I said, you know what, I could do this too. I can do this. I know I could. Well, I did. It started out great. I loved expressing myself. First time I came to the Philippines, and how absolutely engorged I was. And not my dick. I was engorged. I sucked in everything. And sometimes it became overwhelming, culture shock, they call it, culture shock. And I did experience, and I expressed it. I remember the times I sat on the balcony with my phone or camera at the time, which was my Nikon D300, not a smartphone, and I recorded how I felt. I said, I went to Cologne today, and man, I kind of had to get back to the hotel because I'm just feeling overwhelmed. The sights and sounds, all the people on the street, I said, Jesus Christ, I can't handle this. That famous air-conditioned room again, folks. I went back to my air-conditioned room at the hotel and just kind of chilled out, away from all this noise pollution, street pollution, people trying to sell me on something. I said, okay, I had my dose. Now I need to kind of kick back and, kind of get my head together. Okay, so I didn't know if I'd ever come back again to the Philippines, but I did. Why? Again, it was a challenge. To me, I wanted to challenge myself. Well, you're learning a lot about me. Nothing too personal, really. And probably nothing that I never maybe even discussed before, but maybe a little more detailed. And now you kind of know where I'm coming from. I always accept the challenge. Generally, I will. I have to examine what the challenge is, of course, if it's worth my time and effort to pursue it. Sure, I want to live the peaceful life, and who says I really wasn't other than social media? Social media is not my whole life. It became an element of my life, a hobby, let's call it that. But it gave me a way, and still does, of voicing out my opinion, expressing my thoughts, even teaching people maybe things they never knew. I guess that's my character. I don't mind sharing my thoughts, sharing what I learned with other people I don't even know, in hopes that maybe, if not just one person, even one person kind of gets it. It satisfies me. I expect diversity because this is life. We're living on a planet of the apes. Call them humans. Violent creatures. The most violent creatures on the earth. Who are totally socially inept to be in this modern day society. The introduction of video games that desensitized everybody. How do you expect them to act like? Parents said, go ahead, do it. Hey, I'll buy that game where they're chopping heads off and blood is all over the place and everything is guns. I can't turn on. One of the reasons I have to surf so much on my TV is because everything I turn on is violent. Because the only things that turn people on is blood and guts. Everybody's got a gun. It's a war movie. It's a criminal movie. Or a mafia. Or just some fucking local thugs. Robbing people, killing people, raping people. Well, welcome aboard, folks. It's fucking society. Did you expect anything different on YouTube where they could hide behind their computer screens? It's even worse. The bad thing and sad thing about it, people get killed. Oh yeah. They push too hard sometimes, and sometimes bad things happen to them. But you know how that works. Nah, nothing's gonna happen to me. I can get away with this shit. I'll even go on there and come under a different name. Nobody's gonna find out who I am. And don't go on camera all the time, you know? But then the damage was already done to themselves and somebody finds out who they are. Or we already know who they are and they make themselves, because the cocky person they are, they made themselves so goddamn apparent. And on camera, they said some horrible things about me or other people and they got busted for it. They swore up and down it was never going to happen. You're not going to get me arrested. That ain't going to happen. You're not going to get me deported. It ain't going to happen with that big smirk on their face. But then, alas, what happened? I think you get the picture, folks, by now in this half-hour-long dissertation. Party on, McDuff. I say to you, party on, McDuff, but just know that there are consequences in life, whether it's social media or outside of social media. You reap what you sow, you know? Watch what comes out of your mouth. Watch what rumors you spread about innocent people. You probably live a pretty good life, whether here or in the States or wherever you hail from. Push it too hard with somebody and you might get away with it. But on the other side of the coin, you may not get away with it. And again, from a Clint Eastwood movie, you feel lucky? Do you feel lucky? How lucky do you feel? Well, I know a couple of people that are not very lucky, wishing that they never said anything about me at all, and pushed it as far to the point that I said, okay, I'm getting off this little fucking soda stand. And I'm going for the hard stuff. Yeah, this time give me a beverage with a lot of carbonation. Give me the strong stuff, sir. Okay, so I went into action. Like Action Jackson. I'm not a war hero, but I'll tell you what, and I'm not a soldier. I'm not a cop, not a detective per se, but I'll tell you what amazing primal instincts happen when you feel somebody just went too far. That famous line I talk about, that went over that line, it's amazing. The transformation of a mild and unassuming person like myself, and what I'm capable of doing when I put my mind to it. And I've proved that time and time again. 7.5 years of taking the crap I did on YouTube, and I'm still here. I'm either fucking crazy, or I got, balls of a fucking carabao. Whatever you see it as. I may see it different than you. But sometimes, somebody's rubbing your skin the wrong way. You're going to get a rash, or you're going to get an abrasion. It's up to you if you want to get that rash. You want to attack that rash with cortisone, or you want to attack that rash and just get rid of it permanently so that you'll never have that rash again. Good day, folks.